Welcome to the Right Hand Drive Guys podcast, the show for guys who like right hand drives. I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
Yo.
And this is episode 63. And today we have a really cool guest, actually. It's a guy that we were able to meet up with in Japan while we went this last time. And he goes by the name of Jesse Iwuji.
Yep, that's him. He's the man, dude.
He is the man.
Dude, he's cool. Super cool, dude.
Yeah, and so we were able to hook up with him through another buddy named Jay that had met on Instagram, actually. Yeah. And they are childhood friends. They both ended up getting 34 GTRs. And, you know, Jesse is a really, I don't even know what to call it. He's very expansive. Like, he does so much.
Yeah.
When he started telling us, I was like, at first, I'm like, is this guy, like, for real? And then I quickly figured out just by the way he conducts himself that he is very for real.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And yeah, it just goes to show like how, I don't know, the Skyline GTR community can, I don't know, just bring you to these people that you might not have been around if it weren't for these cars. So it's pretty cool.
I agree. It's a lot of people would think that, you know, like, oh, an R34 GTR owner would be so stuck up, but you know, they're actually very inclusive if you have similar interests, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you don't have to own a GTR to be cool with these guys. You just got to have similar interests, and that's probably the same across the board with most hobbies and stuff like that, right? So yeah, we had the pleasure of spending like 4 or 5 days with him. We got to go to Fat Five Land. We went to Akihabara. We did quite a few different things. We went to the Tokyo Underground meet.
Yeah.
We went to Tokyo Auto Salon together. So we really got a good judge of his character, and we were like, dude, we got to have him on here. He is just so, I don't know, I don't want to say electric, but he kind of is like that type of guy that like really gets a conversation going and keeps it moving. So
it's good energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So episode 63 is a, informal interview with Jesse Iwuji.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. All right, and we're here with Jesse. Jesse, what's up, man?
What is up? How's it going?
Good, man. It's good to finally get you on here. I knew since the minute we saw you in Japan, I was like, this guy is it right here. He definitely has like a great balance of knowledge and experience. And of course, on the podcast, that's just always a perfect, kind of a perfect mesh.
Yeah, most definitely. That's for sure.
So yeah, I mean, of course, Aaron and I, we know all about you. We're big Jesse fans, but tell everybody else, like, what do you drive? What do you do? Like, who's Jesse?
Yeah, for sure. So I do a lot of different things, right? So a huge car enthusiast, right? I've been a car enthusiast ever since I was a little kid. I was the only one in my family who was a car enthusiast. So growing up, my parents didn't take me to like car shows or races or anything like that. For me, I just always liked it. I liked what I saw on TV. I liked what I saw in the video games. I liked what I saw in the movies. And growing up, my first big love was like Dodge Vipers, right? There was this show called Viper back in the early 90s. I don't even know how many seasons they had, 1 or 2 seasons. It didn't last that long, but I still liked Dodge Viper because of it. Even before that was David Hasselhoff's show, Knight Rider, right? Those two shows right there really got me interested in cars. And then from there, watching the show Speed Racer, the cartoon, and then from there, the Fast and Furious movies, the video games like Need for Speed, Forza, Gran Turismo. You start adding all these different things together, especially from the late 90s all the way through through now. It's been super epic. It's been a really good time. So it's definitely gotten me closer towards cars. But then after I graduated college, I went to the Naval Academy, played football there. I was a football player, so football was my big thing. Nice. Graduated from the Naval Academy in 2010 and became an officer in the Navy. So I got stationed in San Diego. And in my first duty station down in San Diego, I was trying to look for that next big thing for me to do since I wasn't playing college football anymore. And when I played college football, I didn't play for a small team. The Naval Academy is a big team, a good team, a team that plays on national TV. I mean, I've played against Ohio State. I've played in, we went to 4 bowl games during my 4 years there. We had 4 winning seasons, beat Army all 4 years, beat Air Force all 4 years, beat Notre Dame twice. While I was at the academy. So we did a lot of big things. So I came from a very big stage, big level. I came from being used to every single weekend during the football season, going and playing in front of a minimum of 30, 40,000 people, but all the way up to 110,000 people.
Dang.
So that's where I came from. So that's what I was used to. I was used to being in that kind of light. So after that was done, I was like, man, what's the next big thing? And I was starting to do track days and stuff. I had a actually right here. You can't see it, but you can barely see the light, is my C6 Z06. And this car was the car I first did my first ever road course track day with. And I was doing all these track days, having fun. I had a Challenger at the time. I was drag racing with it. My Challenger made 980 horsepower to the wheels.
Oof.
And all of this together was really like bringing me closer and closer to cars and building my passion like crazy. And then one day I was sitting in my room one night and I just had this crazy idea. And I was like, you know what? I like cars. I love racing. I love going to the track. I like doing track days. Why not try to do it professionally? Like, why not try to become a professional race car driver? So from there, being an officer in the Navy, obviously I didn't have a lot of, I mean, I had money, but not like, NASCAR or F1 type money.
Right.
So I was trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to get into racing and do this, like, how does it even work? And then through a lot of research and networking and meeting people and learning things, I finally figured out, hey, to get into racing, one, you got to learn how to drive a race car. Two, you got to train yourself all the time. You have to be marketable. You got to figure out how to be marketable for potential sponsors. You have to find the money somehow, some way, and you have to piece all this together. And for me at that time, getting into racing, or like in 2015, I was 26, 27, 28 years old, some age around there. And with being that old at that time, I was like 20 years later than most people who start in racing to get into the pros, right? So I had to
Seriously.
figure things out quick. Yeah. So what I did was I started my own small business to help make some extra money on the side. So I'll do my day job as a Navy officer. And then on the side, I was putting on drag racing events. So I rent out a track, hype up the event like crazy, get a lot of people to come, get a lot of drivers to bring their cars to come, street cars, right? They come to the track, they race, they have a good time, I give away prize money. At the end of the night, if there's money left over, that means I made a profit. So I was really excited about that. I think the first event, maybe I profited like $3,000 or so. The second event, I profited like $27,000.
Dang.
The next event. I mean, I think the biggest profitable event I ever had was like 50 something grand for like a one weekend of work. Right.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
cool.
40 hours a week in the military. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So doing my day job, getting paid that, and then also doing that. So having all that money allowed me to get into racing, right? Racing isn't free and it's not cheap.
No.
Tires, fuel, people, all that stuff costs a lot of money. The first level I got into racing with in 2015 was late model stock cars. Well, these late models, they cost like $5,000 per weekend to get into, right? So imagine like every weekend that you go racing is 5 grand.
Yeah.
And that was, I wish my racing today cost 5 grand, because today my racing costs $100,000 per race. So
Oof.
yeah. So it's a lot, but at the time, the money I was making was enough to pay for that kind of stuff. Then I found a little bit of sponsorship as well, and I just kept on mixing the both of the business sponsorship and just doing what I could to get into racing. Eventually, I found more sponsorship than I was making in my business, and I started other businesses to make extra money, and I kind of just kept on piecing it all together. And now I race at the second highest level in NASCAR, which is a NASCAR Xfinity Series, and I also own my own team as well in the Xfinity Series. We don't race every single race right now. Our team races kind of a partial season right now. But hopefully we get back to full-time racing with our team. It's just, once again, it costs a lot of money. So it's hard to find all that kind of money to piece it together. But yeah, it's been crazy. I've still been building my other businesses. I have multiple businesses. I have a trucking company, a film production company, an esports company, a government contracting business. I still put on the motorsports events, and real estate investing, and yeah, I'm all over the
Does
place.
this
Whatever
man
makes a dollar,
sleep?
yeah, whatever makes a dollar, I try to get into it. So, and then on the side of all that stuff is just my car hobby. I mean, I'm sitting in my garage right now at our house. This is a 3-car garage, but I have more than 3 cars. Um, I have my C6 Z06 right here. It's a drift car. I have my C8 Z06 right there, which is like a everything car. I can take it to the road course. I can take it to a drag strip. I can cruise with it every day. And then behind that over there, the white car, which is way behind, is my R32 GTR,
Nice.
sequentially shifted, single turbo, fully built RB26, really, really fast, really, really fun car.
Right. So,
And then, yeah, in
in
Japan, my 34 GTR. And then I
S-
have another car coming on the way too, which will be here. And actually, it's at the dealership now, waiting on me. But it's a C8 E-Ray.
Oh yes, that was definitely a highlight when you were talking to me a few weeks back. The E-Ray, you said the allocation it
Yeah,
came in and everything. So wow,
it's here now.
that's quite the lineup. So at what point, did you get into JDM cars?
Yeah, the JDM thing. I think I was probably into JDM before I was into the American cars. Honestly, the first yeah, so the Viper, right? It was like every kid's dream car, right? But like car that I was like thought was attainable that I could like go after and get immediately. Well, I think the first one was like a Honda Civic, right? I really like the
Mm-hmm.
Civics a lot. Never went and got a Civic though. My first car ended up actually being a Mustang, but it was a V6 Mustang. But I was trying to JDM it out, because that JDM still was like in me, right? I was like doing all of this, JDM crap to it from AutoZone, and it was like so stupid. But I was then I grew up a little bit. I'm like, hold on, I can't do that. Let me do more like muscle car stuff to it. So I started doing that. And then I realized that car was never really going to go anywhere. It's a 145 horsepower V6 Mustang, 1995. I'm like, that car's not going anywhere. So I sold it. I got a Chrysler 300, which was still a 6-cylinder, but it had a little bit more power and it was bigger, nicer, more luxurious, all that stuff. So I kind of like it was a little sporty with it, but mainly kind of luxury with it. It had some really nice wheels on it, sound system, all that stuff. It wasn't fast, but it sounded good. And I did take it to a drag strip twice. I think I ran a 15.8 with it in the quarter mile. um, and that was while in college. And then after I graduated college, I was like, okay, I need a legit fast car because once I graduated college, that's when I became an officer in the Navy. So I was starting to make money. I was making like, I don't know, maybe 70, 80 or so grand a year. And this is back in 2010 where 70 and 80 grand was great. Um, and I was like, man, I need a legit car that can make good power and that is actually fast. And the Challengers had just came out, so I've got a Challenger SRT8, and that was awesome. I immediately out the box had 425 horsepower,
Mhm.
and it was a low 13-second car, at that time, which was good for a car out of the factory. And then with some minor changes, I think I put a cam in it. And then all of a sudden I was running like mid 12s with it. And then I threw a supercharger on it with some low boost or whatever. And I was running like, high 11s with it. And then from there, built the motor and threw a bigger supercharger on it. Then it was like a low 10-second car,
Dang.
and so on. So, and then I went to the Mojave Mile and did 200.9 miles per hour or something like that. Or no, yeah, 200.9, almost 201 in a 1 mile. So in like a standing mile, I did 200 miles per hour, which is very, very difficult. Like if I don't know if
Yeah.
you ever ran a standing mile, but to get to 200, like a lot of people try and never get there. They blow up on their way there. Like it's
And you
hard
did
to
it
get
in
to
the
200.
Challenger.
I did it in the Challenger. Put it this way, a Bugatti Veyron did did 201.3 in the standing mile. So my car did 200.9. That's
You were
how well we
cooking.
had built that thing.
Yeah.
We were cooking. Yeah.
um, so I know Aaron had a good question for you.
Yeah. I mean, so like a lot of the car guys, they're into the American muscle or they're into the JDM cars. Man, how
Mhm.
can you do both? Do
Yeah, yeah. Well,
you
I
ever
think in
get
the
any flack
American
from
scene,
anyone?
you know what? Not really. So in the American scene, I think before it was like straight up just American muscle and then JDM stuff with like the JDM sports car stuff, right? I think nowadays we're in an age where American side, we have more than muscle. There's sports cars too, right?
Right.
Like the Corvettes, right? There, I mean, if you look at the C8 Z06 right there behind me, I mean, that's a mid-engine car that sounds even better than a Ferrari 458. And I said it does sound better than a Ferrari 458
With
because
that
it's
flat
deeper
plane
tone.
crank. Hell yeah.
Flat plane crank V8, 5.5 liter, 670 horsepower, naturally aspirated. I mean, 10.4 out the box in the quarter mile all day long. And
Phew.
I've done it. Like that's not like a written number. Actually, GM says it'll only do a 10.6, and I went and did a 10.4 with it. So yeah. Somebody else did a 998 with it, by the way. 998 stock out the box. Now
Man.
he had skinnies up front, drag radials, took out the passenger seat, and ran with
Wow.
that. But yeah, like it is pretty wild. So yeah, the being on the American side and also JDM side, I don't love every JDM car. I'll put it that way. I do like JDM car, but I don't love every JDM car. The only ones I really care about are JDM like legends, right?
Right.
So Skyline GTRs or just GTRs period, right? So GTRs, Supras, NSX, S2000, Subi, STIs, Evos. What else am I missing? I think that's about it. Those are like the legendary
Right.
cars.
Right. All
Those are
the
the only
good
ones that
ones.
care. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a, like, although I started off liking Civics back in the day, and I'm not a Civic fan. I front wheel drive. If it's front wheel drive, can't dig it at all. It has to be rear wheel drive or all wheel drive. That's it. Yeah, I like the legendary cars for the most part. Obviously, Skyline GTRs are my favorites, right? Love those cars. On the American side, really the sporty stuff, right? Like the Corvettes. I have respect for the Ford GTs. Very, very
Right.
high priced, but Ford GTs are very cool. GM makes some really great stuff. The Cadillac CTSVs are sexy. Camaros are great. The ZL1s are nasty. The Viper, the Gen 5 Viper is probably one of the nastiest cars out there
Yeah, oh
for a
yeah.
whole lot of reasons. Yeah. Ford has done a really great job with their Coyote motors. Like, I mean, Mustang GTs people want to hate, right? But like the Gen 2 Mustang GT, like, I mean, the Coyote motor, I mean, you can't, I mean, you got to give that thing props. That motor, bone stock, can send a Coyote into a Mustang into the 8-second club without even opening up the motor at all, doing anything. Just throw a twin turbo kit on it, fuel system, drag radial, skinnies up front, and send it. And you can literally go into it. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's just there's not a lot of cars that can do that. The only other cars that can even touch the eights with a bone stock bottom end, what is the these newer BMWs and some LS stuff. I think maybe LT too as well. A few LT cars, like I think the C7 Z06 and the Camaro ZL1s. I mean, there's ways to maybe potentially do that, but it's still tough.
Yeah. And so, you listed that whole kind of barrage of the JDM icons, but you have two GTRs. Why the GTR over the Supra, the NSX? Why are
Yeah.
you a Skyline guy?
Yeah, so the Skyline thing really kind of I started falling in love with Skylines back in '99. Actually, is when I first heard about them. I was playing Gran Turismo. This is before Too Fast and Furious because that came out in 2002 or 2003 or something like that.
Hmm.
But in 1999, I was playing Gran Turismo 2. That was my first Gran Turismo game I ever owned. And obviously, anyone who's played that game knows there was a ton of cars on that game. I don't even know if any other game to this day has matched the amount of cars that game had.
It is wild.
If I can remember, I think it was a 2-disc game. Was it? Was it 2-disc or was it
Yeah,
one
it
disc? I
had an
can't remember.
arcade game. It had an arcade style, and then it had like the
Yeah.
career mode, or where it had the map and all that.
Yeah. There's so many cars in there. So one of my favorite, I had a lot of favorite cars on there. In fact, I think probably my number one was a Suzuki Escudo
Yes,
rally car. Oh, that thing
the
was
Pikes Peak edition.
crazy. Yeah, because they took I don't know, they took a, a a car that you would give to a 16-year-old for their first car,
Yeah.
and then made it into this crazy rally car. So, anyways, but I like that car a lot. But then I like the Skyline GTRs on there, and the 34 GTR was like a newer car on there. And Mines had their Mines R34 GTR on there, so I played with that.
Yeah.
I played with the Blitz R34 GTR on there, and any 34 GTR period that they had on there, I always played with those on there because I really liked them for whatever reason. And then the movie came out, Too Fast, Too Furious, and Brian O'Connor had a R34 GTR for those first 15 minutes of the movie,
Yeah.
and that sent me through the roof. I'm like, oh my god, that's that car I played in the game. Around the same time, also Need for Speed Underground came out, and Underground 2, and it had the
Yep.
R34 GTRs in it.
Yeah.
So Need for Speed Underground 1, 2, Too Fast, Too Furious, Gran Turismo 2. You mix all that together in basically a 4-year period. I mean, I was just like, it was 34 GTR all over. And obviously that was during the run of the R34 GTR. So that's what made me fall in love with it. So then from there, like every single year of my life from there, I was trying to figure out how do I get an R34 GTR. I loved other cars too as well, but I'm like, man, how do I get one? And I was thinking of the craziest things and really stupid things too as well. I was like, okay, I can't bring one over, but maybe I can like find a way to like make one, right? And I remember one time I looked online and there was these weird body kits out there for Honda Accords that you could like make one look
Yeah.
like a 34. I was like, oh, maybe I can do that, which is a stupid idea. And then from there, I switched from that. And then I was like, oh, maybe I can get like a S15. And look, there's a lot of resemblance there. And then I couldn't get that, right? You couldn't bring one in. So
Yeah.
there's just no way I could make it happen. Then I was like, okay, I just gotta wait. Then I heard about, all these people like Motorex and what's the other company called? The one that was doing where you bring in the shell and then you do all that stuff. So I was looking up all these companies. I was like, oh, maybe I can do that. But these are during times where I didn't even have the money. I was in high school and college. I
Right.
didn't even have money. Even though 34s were cheaper, way cheaper then, I didn't have that kind of money. So, anyways, graduated college and kept on going. But once again, every year I'm trying to figure out, man, like maybe there's some for sale here that are here and like I can just get it. But it never came together. And in 2018, I had a buddy that was selling some of those gray market cars or whatever, and he had access to some GTTs. I'm like, oh, maybe I can get a GTT. That might be the closest I'll ever get to a GTR.
Yeah.
So I hit him up and I'm about to get this thing. And then I thought, I'm like, dude, I can't get this. Like, this car's not even legal to be here. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life. I'm like having this car. I'm like, if I get a JDM car, it needs to be legal. It needs to be something that like when I get it, like I'm not looking over my shoulder. It's legit. It's good. So I was like, I'll pass on. I gave him a down payment for like 2,500 or $5,000 or something like that. And I said, just keep the money, dude. I told you I was going to get this, and I ended up not getting it. It's not your fault. It's my fault. And he kept the money. I'm like, dude, it's my fault, not yours.
That's a legit
So,
buyer.
and
Yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, you got once again, you got to do the right thing. Like there's a lot of we live in a world where people suck. And I'm
Hmm.
not ever going to be one of those sucky people. Anyways, we start going, and I'm like, man, when am I going to get this car? So 2020 hits, and our mutual friend Jay, he's done with law school. He goes and does his thing. Starts going. He starts getting back into the car community again because he was like gone for a while, and he bought a 35. And I was like, oh, that's cool, And once again, this passion for GTR started springing up
Hmm.
again. I'm like, oh man, like I'm in a place where maybe I can get another car now because I had my C606 that I was like daily driving. I was like, maybe I can get another car. And I was like, at that time, I didn't have enough money to go get a 35 because they were pretty pricey at that time. But I was like, okay, maybe I can go back to this Skyline thing that I love. Let me see what one of those I can get. And then, 32 started popping up, like a lot of them, and they were like reasonably priced. So I'm like, oh, maybe I can get a 32. That's like pretty close to 34, right? It's an RB26 all-wheel drive, and it's like the legend.
Oh
So then I
yeah.
found one that was near me, picked it up for 32 grand,
Dang.
and it was 100,000 kilometers or so on it, so not that much. It wasn't too bad, and it had upgraded twin turbos, upgraded a lot of stuff, Dulux body kit, works
Oh
wheels. I
wow.
mean, it was like super sick, yeah. And I was like, oh man, let's get this. I got it, had a lot of fun with it, ripping around, going to shows, going to the drag strip, all that stuff. But when I first got it, it had this little boost controller thing on it, and I turned it up to like 1.8 bar or something
Oh
crazy like
nice.
that. But I didn't understand I accidentally did the wrong calculation on what bar was to PSI. I don't
Oh,
even,
I
and
see.
I'm a math guy. I mean, at the academy, I did calculus one, calculus two, calculus three, passed them all with flying colors. I don't know how I screwed up the calculation on this, but I did.
You were
And for
so
whatever reason, I didn't
excited.
think. Yeah, so I put it at 1.8, sent it, and did it multiple times. And then I started noticing that things started like knocking. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then I stopped doing it. Well, I think that was just the beginning to the end, right? Like I think I just
Yeah.
ended up hurting something, and it just slowly went downhill from there. And then like about 6 months, no, not 6 months, about 5 months later, it was like car was like smoking a lot, like from the exhaust on decel. I'm like, oh, and I checked the compression, and one of the cylinders was like down on compression. I'm like, damn it, it still works because I kept on driving it, but it was just smoking on decel. Finally, luckily, that was in 2020, and that was COVID year, but I made like a lot of money that year, a lot,
Hmm.
from our trucking stuff, right? Because when everybody shut down, people still needed stuff, so they all went to Amazon to order. Well, my biggest contract was with Amazon, so our trucks were just staying like
Dang.
crazy. I mean, I made a lot of money that year. Like the year before, I think we brought in revenue of like 600 grand in 2019, but 2020 we brought in like 2 point something million.
Yeah, that's
So yeah, like
sick.
so I'm like, you know what? I got some extra money. I'm gonna build the motor. I spent like 50K building the car. Boom, just like that, like whatever. And did that with a 32. And then all of a sudden had this built car. It was amazing. And then added a sequential transmission a year later, or say a year later, added the sequential on it. And then, yeah, kept on going. And then all of a sudden 2022 hits. We're in 2022. And, Jay decides to get a 34. And he told me about it like a week or two before he got it. He's like, hey, I'm looking at 34s. And me and him had talked about it. When I got my Skyline at first, the 32, and he had his R35, we had already talked about it. We're like, hey, one day we're going to go to Japan and buy 34 GTRs and experience them out there in Japan. Like, we're not going to buy and wait and just let it come here whenever. We're going to go experience it there.
The
But then,
dream.
like, we also told each other if they go over $100,000, F that. We're not going to do it. Too much money, whatever. Well, we all know what happened. They all went over 100 grand. And after a while, I'm like, screw this. I got my 32. It's a legendary car anyways. People love it. It gets a ton of attention. I'm like, and I'm good, And then he's like, hey, I'm gonna get a 34. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I thought we were like surpassed, like we're not gonna do this anymore. Like, it's too much. He's like, dude, I know, but like I really want one. I'm like, fuck, dude. So he got it. And like at first I was like, maybe he's not gonna get it. And then he just goes and gets it and then like sends me pictures and like, I'm like, fuck. So then I spent the next 2 months looking for one. 'Cause I'm like, dude, if he got it, I have to get it. I have to fulfill my side. Like I said, like if
Yeah.
I say we're gonna go do something, I'm gonna go do it. So I was like, I'm gonna go do this no matter what it costs. Like I'm just gonna figure it out. But I'm gonna be reasonable with it too. So then I found a dealership called Space. Hold on a second. Sorry. So I found a dealership called Space Auto, and we went to I went to their website. It was in Japanese. I couldn't convert it, or sorry, I converted some of it, but not all of it. And then, but I noticed they had a lot of great cars on there. I'm like, man, who's this dealership? Because I kept on hearing about Top Rank or whatever.
Mhm.
And I think I maybe talked to Top Rank like once, just kind of asked them a few questions. Didn't like dive into the rabbit hole with them, but I wanted to do something different. Like I know Jay went through Top Rank. I wanted to do something different. Like I didn't want to go through the way everybody else went. I wanted to find my own way. And I was like, why not go directly to a dealership in Japan? Like, why not? Like, what's stopping me? So I did that, and it worked out really well. Space Auto has been absolutely incredible. Their pricing was really, really fair. I got like, I think all in on that car, I was between buying it, paying for storage for 20 months, paying for insurance for 20 months, paying for registration for the car so I could drive it for that basically almost 2 year period, paying for all that stuff all in and shipping, paying for everything all in. I was like 137 grand in or whatever to do that. Which was like I felt like was really, really good, fair price. And then the car, like y'all know, was super low mileage. I think when I got it was 48,000 kilometers on it. Since then I've put like 12,000 myself. But yeah,
Dang.
48,000 kilometers. It was like the thing was like it looked like some grandma had bought it and then just put it in her garage and like never used it. Like that's what it looked like. It was so pristine,
Man.
stock, literally nothing done to it. Like everything you see on it now is stuff I put on it since. But beautiful car, amazing car, runs great, all that stuff, super clean. And I felt like I got a really solid deal. Yeah, it was more than I think the actual car itself was like 118. And then the rest of all the other stuff between registration and shipping, and you start adding all that stuff together, that was the extra like 20 grand basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like it was super fair. And then I achieved my lifelong dream, which was to get a 34 GTR.
Nice.
Yeah,
dude.
and it is really in person. It is a beautiful car for sure. It was, and you did a lot of tasteful mods to it, which a lot of guys think. You get this car, it gets packed away, you never see it again. But if you work it out right, just like you have and I have, you can modify it from afar. You can have these things done, and you can go drive it, which really has created some pretty amazing experiences.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, for sure. It's been really, really fun driving it, experiencing it in Japan. A lot of people, yeah, I felt like a lot of people used to think it's a major flex to already have your car here and be driving it before everybody else could get their car here, and that's
Mm-hmm.
cool. It really is cool. But I think it's even cooler to have experienced your car in Japan.
Oh,
Like that is cool. I think people are starting to see that now. They're like, damn man, I wish I would have like experienced it there. So, I mean, nothing wrong with having your car here, whatever, cool. But man, like if you do have the opportunity to like have the car stored there for a little bit and then go experience it there, pay that extra money and go experience it there. Don't just go once, go like a few times and go
yeah.
experience your car. I mean, I've been 6 times to Japan in 14 months. I'm going again here in 4 days.
Oh,
cow.
So
dang.
yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of experiences, I mean, what's your most memorable experience in Japan yet?
Most memorable. I have a lot. It's hard to say just one. The track days have been incredible. Going to Fuji Speedway, a beautiful, beautiful facility, probably one of the most
Yeah.
beautiful tracks I've ever been to.
Oh yeah.
Going there and racing there, going and getting the 34 GTR record there, going in and the stock GTR record, not like the overall, right? There's
Right.
faster
Yeah.
34 GTRs that have gone there. But like I'm saying, for like OEM plus, like a car that isn't more than that, which is my car is basically like an OEM plus, I have like the record for that.
That's
But
wild.
yeah, doing that, running that scuba, like when I first watched videos of 34 GTRs racing in Japan, it wasn't at Fuji, it wasn't at Suzuka, it wasn't at any of those tracks, it was at scuba. So
Yeah.
for me to go there and experience scuba myself, go run basically the identical time as what they were running with the stock GTR there. Like they ran like the stock one did like 106. 106. I was like 2/10 off of whatever the time was they're running back then.
Dang.
Yeah, so like that was super incredible. Going and experiencing the underground car meets, that has been super super cool, especially during
Oh
Tokyo
yeah.
Auto Salon. Especially the first one I went to was super memorable because I got to go to, like, I didn't even know what meet I was going to. Like, it just linked up with a few people, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to this underground meet." I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm thinking like Daikoku or something like that. I've already been a few times, so I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." We go, we meet up. And the first place we met up there, just got done eating dinner, and there's this little lot. So I'm like thinking, oh, the lot over here is like where this meet's happening or whatever. So like I was like, oh, underground meet, but it's not even underground. It's like, outdoors. And then they're like, no, no, that's not the spot. We just ate here. We're gonna go to the actual meet. I'm like, okay, cool. What's this underground meet? We go to this spot, and like it's a parking garage. We go down in there, and just like Tokyo Drift, there's this guy standing like at the little freaking gate, and he like puts the thing in, and you give him a couple bucks. He lets you in, and we go down there, and the sickest cars were there. It wasn't like a crazy pack meet. It was like, I don't even know, probably like 50 cars or so. 50 to 60 cars maybe max. But they were all the cleanest 50 or 60 cars you could ever see, all underground at this meet. A lot
Jeez.
of people, and it was crazy. I was like, oh my god, I'm at a legit Tokyo underground meet. This was in Tokyo Auto Salon 2023. And then this last year, the one that y'all went to, that was another great meet. I feel there's things that I felt like they could have done a little bit better, but like we all probably shouldn't have been on that top floor. We should have probably been in that floor below, and
Yeah.
then it would have been great.
Yeah.
But still though, it was super sick. All the cars that were there, super amazing time. So track days, the meets, toge runs, going and running famous toges with my car,
Oh yeah.
ripping it up with some other friends, doing late night after Daikoku like loop runs with the loop runners, like through all the stuff you just heard about and saw on like these VHS tapes from back in the day. Like I've been doing that. Like it's just crazy.
And it would seem, or it always seemed unobtainable, right? Like when you were younger and when you're watching this stuff happen. And then, yeah, I can attest when you get there and you're actually going through this and you're running the C1 loop or you're parked in the middle of Daikoku and getting photos taken, it is just this super surreal, like really a feeling of almost accomplishment because you really have checked off a few of those kind of core bucket list items.
Exactly, exactly.
So you did mention Space Auto a little bit, and I personally don't have a lot of kind of experience with Space Auto, and so I was just kind of hoping you could tell some of the listeners who maybe are in the market what are a few of the benefits of using Space Auto.
Yeah, so the benefits are they're smaller than Top Rank, right? But I feel like their customer service is really, really good. Not that Top Rank doesn't have any customer service, whatever. I've never bought a car from Top Rank. I just have friends who bought cars from them. But for Space Auto, I just love their attention to detail, their customer service, and what they do. They have a really clean showroom. It's not just like a warehouse that just stores cars and that's it. Like their warehouse that stores cars, you could eat off the floor. Like it's like so nice. It's so clean. Like their bathroom is like the nicest smelling bathroom I've ever been to in my entire life. In my entire life.
That
Like every
matters.
time I go to it, like if I bring someone to Space, I don't that's never been there. I like even if you don't have to use the restroom, just go to the restroom. Just go. Like you'll just like it. I don't know why. It's just nice. So, but they have a lot of clean cars. They focus on buying great cars. They focus on they don't buy rusted out, clapped out, whatever. Obviously cars, these older cars, some of them will have weird random little things. Sometimes the MFD won't work or this and that. They fix that stuff, right? They fix it, they get it right, and then boom, you're good. But they always buy really, really great cars. And they usually find a way to get it to where it's going to be a fair price for the person who's buying it, right? So I've noticed that their prices aren't as they aren't as expensive usually as some of the other companies out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that's why I got my car from them, because I looked at the price. I'm like, holy crap. For 118, I'm getting a bone stock R34 GTR with 48,000 kilometers that you could literally eat off of any crevice of the car. It's that clean. And I
Mm-hmm.
was getting it for 118 when the same exact cars for other companies were, 130, 140, all that stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, you can't
Yeah.
beat this. So 99, all that stuff, early 99, May 99. So it's just like, dude, it wasn't like it was a 2002, or something like that. Those definitely are always going to be cheaper right now. But it was just such a great deal. Great people. They work with you to do whatever you need. They have a shop there that can work on your cars, whatever modifications you need. Mine is building the motor, right? They do all the basic bolt-on stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even you want to get fenders installed, painted, whatever. I mean, they can do it all. They've done everything you see on my car. Pretty much they installed, minus the exhaust, because I wanted to go to mines. So they set up that. I told them, hey, I want to get this mines exhaust, but it'd be really cool if I could get it done there. And they were like, cool, no big deal. They set it up for me. And then when I came to Japan, I had an appointment at mines, literally to watch my car go into the mines
Jeez.
garage and watch the mines workers work on my car in their legendary garage. Was just
Yes.
like
Another
this
bucket list
crazy.
item right there.
Oh yeah, just yeah. Like you couldn't. As a kid, I played with mines on my PlayStation at the time, whatever, PS2, whatever. I don't know what system I was playing on
Mm-hmm.
at the time, but and then to go to their actual shop and have them work on my car, install titanium exhaust, which did something in the car. Like I didn't go there to have like floor mats put in. Like
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went there to have a legit part put on, like a part that'll give you extra horsepower, make your car sound even better, and make it even look cool, like cooler.
Yes.
Like it was sick.
And that's part of that whole thing when you were talking about, people thinking that having the cars here maybe before everybody else was so awesome. But again, the car will be here with you and you'll have plenty of time to drive it. But you
Mhm.
literally took it to mines. You took it to, Amari factory, right? You took it to these places and
Top
I,
secret. Fuji Speedway ran tracks with it, broke records with it, like experience stuff. Like there's people in Japan who now know me. Like I pull up to a meet, they're like Jesse, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like it's just you can't beat that, Like you can't be. I've drifted in Japan too with drift cars. I had multiple drift days. Like what?
yeah. No, I know. And it would sound kind of, you just sit here and tell somebody this, they'd be like, nah, you're bullshitting. You don't do all that. But it really is
I got all
true.
the
Yeah.
content. The,
Yeah.
the, the crazy thing is like, and I'm not definitely not the first guy to ever go to Japan, American to ever go to Japan and get a 34 GTR and experience it there. Definitely not. But there hasn't been a lot of people to go and also document it too as well.
Mm-hmm.
We all know Dustin Williams. He's done a great job. Learned a lot about Japan through watching his videos. I learned
Yep.
probably even more from Albo. Albo's super cool dude.
Absolutely.
He went and lived there, so I've learned a lot of stuff from him. But yeah, just kind of learning from a few guys who went before and documented. And then from there, I was like, I'm gonna go there and do the same thing. I knew I wasn't gonna be the first to do it, but I was gonna have my own journey, my own unique things that were gonna happen that no one else was gonna get a chance to do. Like I still haven't seen anybody else, like take their 34 GTR to mines and have mines work on their car like right there on the spot. Like that was fortunate. And the only reason I couldn't even record while the car was in there is because they had one of their other mines cars being built there that they couldn't show anybody, so I couldn't record. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
next time I went inside their garage, they let me record, which is cool. So yeah, I don't know. It's just been a super huge blessing to have those opportunities to go do all that stuff and experience it there. And then now I have stories, right? Like I can pull up to a meet or track or whatever here in the US when I bring my car here, and I got legit stories. I can open up my hood and someone's like, what are those signatures on your mine strut tower brace? I'm like, oh, that's DK. That's, Kaichi Tsuchiya. And that's also the mine CEO. Both of them signed my strut tower brace. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Where do you have them sign them at? I'm like, it wasn't even at their shop. It was at the track at Fuji Speedway after DK drove and drifted my R34 GTR around the entire Fuji Speedway. Then he
Holy
signed
cow.
it. Like, well, who has a story like that? And like,
Right.
not only the story, like I got the video.
Yeah.
you know?
No,
So
that's
it's like,
very
dude,
true.
you just can't beat the things that we've all been. Oh, you've gotten to experience some crazy stuff
Mm-hmm.
too. Like you can't beat what we got to experience, and we got video on it. Like We actually can show you what we did, and you can literally see it through our lens, through our eyes.
Yeah, no, and I don't think there's many other cars you could even necessarily do that with. Purchase, go to the country where it was manufactured, and have this super extravagant tale to tell afterwards that is literally all true. And it's super inspiring, right? Which brings me to my last question, and we have some younger listeners, and I would want to know what you would tell a teenager who wants a Skyline. Like, what's your recommendation to get there?
Yeah, it's definitely possible, right? Don't listen to all this, like all this negativity out there, right? And all these people are like, "Oh, it's unattainable now," blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's if you keep telling yourself it's unattainable, then it is unattainable. Like whatever you say is going to happen, is that's what's going to happen, right? You got to tell yourself one, it is attainable because it's just money, right? Like you got to find a way to get it. I'm not like I'm not like a multi-millionaire, crazy rich, whatever. Like I don't have like FU money like that. But if I want something, I figure out how to go get it, right? Like when I bought my 34 GTR, like it wasn't like I wasn't just balling rich. I was just figuring out, hey, if I work hard, grow my businesses, make the right money with my businesses, which took a few years to get to that point, then I can have the money to eventually do it. It took me a few years. I got into business in 2015. I finally had the money to buy a 34 GTR, some years later. If I wasn't racing, I would have had money to buy it the first year of business, but or not the first year, second year of business. But you know what? I was racing, so all my money went into racing. So eventually, I got to a point where I finally had some extra money. But it's all possible. So, as a teenager, one, set your eyes on being way greater than where you are right now, right? So you have to know that if you're going to be in a place to have the kind of money to afford the things that are other most of society think is unattainable, you got to get to a place where they're not, right? If you have $1 million dream, you need to put it $1 million effort in. What people think nowadays is you get this $1 million dream, you only need to put a $10 effort, and that's not true. So you got to figure out, okay, what are you going to do to get there? You gotta map the whole thing out. If I want a 34 GTR and I really want one, okay, how much does it cost? And what's it going to cost by the time I probably get there, right? If it's this now, maybe what's going to be in a few years or whatever. Okay, that's what it's going to cost. Okay, what are all the things that I can do and how disciplined can I be throughout a 2 year period where I can get the right money put together, the right resources so I can do that, right? Your normal freaking day job at McDonald's isn't going to cut it. So what are you
Mm-mm.
going to do extra, right? Like if you want to achieve $1 million dream, you need to put in $1 million effort, right? If you don't have the best paying job in the world, what else extra are you going to do? Or you can go Uber, 5 nights a week. And then on top of that, are you going to go flip stuff? You're going to do garage sales. You're going to go do whatever. You're going to work an extra shift every single, like, what are you going to do extra to make some money? You're going to learn a skill that you can use to make money with or whatever. Like, what extra are you going to do? What kind of hell are you going to put yourself through so you can go achieve your dream? If you're not willing to do it, then you're not going to achieve your goals and dreams. Like, nothing comes easy. So as a teenager, you got time. You're not too old, right? I didn't get a 34 GTR until I was, I don't know, 2 years. I was like 34, 35 or whatever when I got it. It was around my birthday, actually. It's funny. But you're not going to get it unless you put in that $1 million effort, which takes every single day. Do all the things that everybody else isn't doing, and you're going to get there. But you have to be creative. Everybody has their own path. I can tell you my path that I went through, which you just kind of learned about earlier in this show, and you can learn a lot more about it by going on the internet and typing in my name, whatever. You go on. VinWiki did a really good podcast on like my entire story from start to finish. So anyway, if anyone wants to really, really dive into it, they can there. But my way isn't the way that's going to work for everybody, right? Like everybody's going to have their own way. But once again, you got to figure out, okay, here's the goal, here's what's necessary to get there. And then from there, figure out what you have to do along the way to accomplish it and break it down, write it down, and go start accomplishing it, right? If you map it out, you're like, you know what, hey, I want to have a 34 GTR in the next 5 years. Then shoot, how much you got to save every single week to make that happen? How much you got to save every single month to make that happen? What sacrifices, right? Sometimes it's not even about going and making a lot more extra money. Sometimes it's about just sacrificing things that you're doing right now. Maybe I'm not going to go, drink my head off every single day. And now I'm saving a few thousand a year or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to be disciplined and stay on course. And that's what's going to allow you to accomplish any goals and dreams. It's not just going to fall in your lap. None of these cars I have behind me, my drift car C6 Z06, my C8 Z06, my R32 GTR, my R34 GTR, my C8 E-Ray, my C7 Z06 outside making 1,000 horsepower, like my turbo truck sitting in Arizona. I don't even know where it's at. I got to find it. Like none of this stuff came easy. Like I'm dead serious. I don't even know where it's at. I'm trying to find it. Turbo LS truck, like, yeah, crazy. But none of this stuff came easy. Nothing fell in my lap. You know, I make lighthearted of it because I just like having fun, whatever. But nothing fell in my lap. Everything I had to work very hard to get. Right, I had to figure out, okay, what do I have to do to make the extra dollar now to make it happen, and how do I do it the right way? How do I do it in a way where I'm not screwing people over, where I'm not scamming people, where I'm not stealing from people, where I'm not hurrying people? What can I do that helps answers somebody's question or solves someone's problem, helps them, right? And I can make money doing it, right? Like, what can I do to do that? And when you find a way to do those kind of things, that's when you start money. And when you be people's solution, right, to their problems, then all of a sudden people will pay you for that. People will pay you a lot of money to be their solution to their problems.
Very well said, Jesse. Very well
Love
said.
that.
And this is definitely a guy I was listening that whole time, and I got the car, but I'm still listening because you are definitely a very insightful guy. We definitely appreciate you coming on the show. We appreciate your time. It's been a blast, and tell everybody. I mean, I know it's easy to find you, but just tell us where to find you.
Yeah, you can go on any of the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, now X. Definitely not TikTok because that's about to go away. Um, where else am I at? I don't know. I'm on everything. Just look up my name, Jesse Iwuji. That's Jesse. Last name is Iwuji. I'm on all the social media platforms. I answer all my messages, mainly on Instagram and LinkedIn. But yeah, hit me up on there if anyone has any questions on anything, or if they want to get motivated, or if they just need whatever. If you got questions, period, I usually answer it. As long as it's nothing super crazy, hit me up and I can help however I can. Because I'm a huge firm believer about in my world, right, in my life, obviously I have a skyscraper that I'm trying to build, right. But as you're trying to build a skyscraper, what's the point of having a skyscraper if it's the only one in the city, right? So instead of just working on yourself only to build a skyscraper, help other people around you so you can build a skyline.
Oh, damn.
Ah,
I hope you got that trademarked or copyrighted or whatever, dude, because that
Yes.
was good.
I like it.
Oh, man. We definitely appreciate this, Jesse. We hope you have a great time in Japan. I didn't realize you were going, so now I've got like that Japan envy going on.
Yeah, I'll be out there. I'm gonna go run Scuba, Fuji, and Suzuka in a 3-day period.
Nice.
Dang.
What?
If anybody can do it,
Yeah.
you can do it, man. I believe in you for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Like, I don't think
Man.
anyone's done that though. That's the thing, though. That's gonna be like legitimately might be a first where, like, back to back, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be Suzuka, Scuba, Fuji, back to back, boom, boom,
And driving
boom,
the
three,
car to each
like,
of them?
driving my car to each of them,
Dude,
like doing
that
this
Oh,
is
wow.
crazy.
sick.
I've never been personally in my life been to 3 different tracks in 3 different days. I've never been to 3 different tracks in 1 week, period.
Man,
Not
that
even
is
in
epic.
in 2 weeks. You know?
Wow, so it's going to be a mad dash, man. That's going to be a blast.
Love that.
Yeah, all across Japan. So that's going to be super sick. So going to do that and then come right back. And after that, my car is going to get shipped over here and then it can be here at some point in May. And then I'll be
Wow.
experiencing that.
We're looking forward to following along and seeing everything as it happens, man. All right, we'll let you get back to it. We know you're a busy guy, but we definitely appreciate the time, and we'll catch you next time, Jesse.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on the show. And for everybody who's been listening, thanks for listening. Make sure you all are subscribing to their channels, all the stuff,
Oh, yeah.
whether it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, all that stuff. And yeah, for all the people who are out there who are dreaming about having these different things that we have, it's all possible. Like, I'm here to tell you it's all possible. If you don't believe it's possible, then it's not going to be possible. You have to be in full belief, put your mind to it, have the vision, fully and insanely and obsessively believe it's possible, put action towards it every single day, help other people around you, and don't be an a-hole.
There it
Hell
is.
yeah, man. And with that, that was episode 63 of the Right Hand Drive Guys. See ya. Wow, that was sick. Jesse is a trip, man.
Holy moly, dude. He's packed full of knowledge.
It really is, and I love it because his energy is very positive and very
Yes.
upbeat, and I feel like when I get around guys like that, like, it starts to rub off on me, which I need more of. So it's always really good to talk to him. And again, like he said, if you got any questions about how he's doing this or how he's doing that, he'll generally answer it. He really is, as he said, like he could build a skyscraper alone or he could build a skyline. That was legit. I was like, dude, okay, like wow.
Move on with that one.
So yeah, I mean, hit him up, man. Follow him. You know, check out his YouTube, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I hope that we get the chance to actually catch up with him again in person.
Yeah.
Definitely envious he's going to Japan. When he said that, I was just like, oh,
And
come
dude,
on.
hitting those 3 circuits in those 3 days.
I know. It's going to be a
while
blast.
driving his car.
I
Like
hope
2
he
each.
documents it. Yeah.
Man, that's insane. That's bucket list.
That's
but
big time.
kind of his car's last hurrah before it comes back.
If
or
his
comes
car
to you.
lasts through the hurrah.
What do you
Mine
mean?
hardly lasted through Fuji, dude. I don't know, man. Like, I mean, but his is low KMs and it has been well maintained. So,
Yeah. I'm sure you won't have an issue.
yeah. Of course, as always, hit us up at RHDGUIS and, you know, check out the merch if you so please at RHDGUIS.com. And for episode 63 with Jesse Iwuji, I'm Bobby. This is Aaron.
See ya.
Peace.